piece of any argument, but it's somewhat interesting. His numbers are very consistent. He's up a tiny bit in total rebounding. He's up a tiny bit in assists. But the interesting thing about him is, for a guy who's long, very athletic, an explosive jumper, his 2-point field goal percentage shooting is way down, and which brought his effective field goal percentage way down. His 3-point shooting is about career average. His 2-point field goal percentage is way down. Do you see a reason for that?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is shot selection. I mean, he's taking tough, contested long twos, and he's not making them. He also, last night, went to the rim a few times later in the game, and maybe because he was a little tired or whatever, it looked like he had a few opportunities to dunk the ball, and he laid it up and missed. And so maybe that is. Maybe just he played 41 minutes, so he could have just not quite had the juice that he needed to. But I mean, you look at those kind of instances, and you want him to play with that aggression and to just impose himself on his defenders, who, when he does that, they don't have anything for him. Like, they can't match his aggressiveness, his athleticism, his physicality when he wants to be that way. But too often, he is settling for turnaround, fadeaway, 19-foot jumpers. And he looks like he's uncomfortable. He doesn't look like he looks like he feels like he doesn't fit in. And so if they do decide to keep him going forward into next season and beyond, there has to be just a massive amount of work this summer on his game, on his comfort level within the offense, on a style of play that maybe can cater to him a little bit more. But, sooner or later, it's a matter of not having things catered to you. It's a matter of going out and doing it and dictating it. And we just haven't seen that from Andrew for most of the last 2 years.
We have some good Twitter questions to get to. New development at sodastick.com, longtime sponsor. They now have a members-only club. So you go to sodastick.com, it's S-O-T-A, stick.com, and you get a kickback for all of your sodastick.com purchases and your friend referrals, and you get first access to their new releases and their limited edition items, which are one of my favorite parts about their business. They're always doing special runs. So you can get all the basketball stuff we told you about, the football, curling, hockey, soccer, the Wonderwall stuff, a lot of the throwback stuff with Old Moss or Herbeck stuff, North Stars, everything from hockey stick, plunger to barbecue, branded barbecue stuff. It's really cool. Sodastick.com, and now they have a members-only club. Again, you get kickback for all of your purchases and your friend referrals, and you get first access to new releases and limited edition items. And remember, when you use the promo code YouBetcha, you get free shipping on any size order. YouBetcha gets you free shipping on any size order. So check out sodastick.com, and thanks for their support. Let's do some Twitter questions. We have some people who are a little fired up. From Biff Sticks, what free agents do you think will be on the Wolves' radar going into next season? Too early for that question, or do you have an idea?
Well, I mean, it's going to be tough, to be frank. They don't have a whole lot of money to spend. So,
and we don't know who's going to be making the decisions either.
Exactly. So we'll have to see, what kind of philosophy is going to be adopted going forward. I mean, any shooter that they can get, you can bet is going to be a priority. But again, there could be a Wiggins trade, there could be a Jeff Teague trade, there could be a lot of things that change the way they go about looking at the spots that they have to fill. For right now, if things stay relatively status quo, any shooting that they can get and add would be a welcome addition. They need wing depth and they need shooters, but that can go for a heck of a lot of teams out there as well. So they are not going to have a whole lot of money to spend, and the trick will be to lure someone here who believes, A, that there will be playing time and opportunity, B, that they will play in a style that fits their needs for a relatively small cost, and C, that they can be a big factor in helping to get this team to vault back into playoff contention. that's going to require a very creative and very aggressive leadership lobbying campaign from your president of basketball operations or GM, whoever that is, from your head coach, whoever that is, and they will have their work cut out for them because there are so many teams this year that have a lot of salary cap room, and the competition is going to be pretty fierce. So that makes all the decisions on who's leading this thing going forward all the more important.
From Carlos Ledesma, do you think Wiggs needs to sit a game?
I don't think he needs to sit a game, no. I mean, I think that he is doing enough during games in stretches to play. Does it mean that he gets sort of does some of his time need to get called back a little bit? Maybe. Is he the guy to be finishing games at this point right now? That's a good question to have. I think one of the reasons that he did finish or played so much against Atlanta on Wednesday night was that Luol Deng got hurt and could not play in the second half. And again, like, this circles back to, if you're that reliant on Luol Deng, then you have problems. And as good as Luol Deng has been for them,
he wasn't supposed to play this year.
He was not supposed to be this kind of a factor because you expected Andrew Wiggins to be in that role, and because Robert Covington could be in that role as well, and they just haven't had either one of them for different reasons. So I don't think it's a thing where you bury him and put him on the bench. But I also think that you can make an argument that in the most important points of games, you have not been able to really rely on him, and so maybe if you have other options, it's good to look at those.
We have a lot of Twitter Wiggins questions. We won't get to all of them, but I'll ask a couple of representative ones. From Hakuna Matata, real name I'm sure, is anyone holding him accountable from a fan's perspective? Seems like the organization is complacent with his play. I think sometimes fans want punishment.
Right.
They want punishment meted out. That's not the way it works. It just isn't the way it works. I could see benching him or bringing him off the bench. I can see playing with him and seeing if you get a reaction, but you can't just punish a max player. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Right. Yeah. And ideally, like, if you're in high school, the high school coach rips you and puts you on the bench, and they have a lot more power than coaches do in the NBA, frankly. So like, it's in their best interest to get the most out of Andrew Wiggins and find that way to do it, and they have learned over the years that yelling and screaming isn't going to get through to him. But there could be a way to not necessarily punish, but to change the rotations in the way that and when he's in different points of games. Now, that doesn't mean take him from the starting lineup, which some people advocate for, but just not having him in the fourth quarter. Does that send him a message that, hey, we need more from you, types of a situation? That could be a path to go down if it continues this way.
Follow-up question, any insight on how Glenn feels about his handshake conversation with Wiggs and the lack of impact he's had on the court?
Well, look, everyone makes fun of Glenn for that comment that he gave to me when I worked at AP, that he wanted to look him in the eye and see if he was going to get better. If I'm going to buy a hamburger at McDonald's, I want to look the guy in the eye who's giving me the hamburger. Like, if you're spending $150 million, you want to have a face-to-face conversation with this person and lay out kind of some of the expectations. Now, I would think that, yes, he is disappointed with what he has seen from Andrew Wiggins this season. There's no way not to be disappointed with that. But now the question becomes is, what do you do about that? Do you go into the trade market and look to maybe send him up the river for pennies on the dollar, or do you dig in and say, look, we are spending a lot of money. This kid clearly has a lot of talent. How do we maximize it? And how do we finally get through to this guy and not give up? And I don't think the Timberwolves have given up. Ryan Saunders clearly has not given up on Andrew Wiggins. They are trying to put in the work and roll up their sleeves and reach some sort of level that gets him up to where they need him to be. And so far, it has not worked. But I think they'll keep going with it.
Carson Babini asked about Fred Hoiberg. We talked about him a lot last week. I'll let that ride. Brian Matthew Perry asks, what's the probability the Wolves can keep Luol Deng and Derrick Rose for next year in cap-friendly contracts?
Well, I think both of them want to be in situations where they feel valued and they feel like they are going to be able to contribute. And I think that's more important to either one of them than money. Luol Deng loves Ryan Saunders, loves the way the relationship they've built, loves the way that he has communicated with Luol and he has given him playing time when he has earned it. So I don't think that Luol is going to go for one last money grab over all other things. I think that if there is a decent offer by the Timberwolves and if Ryan Saunders is the coach, I think Luol would really think hard about staying here. Same with Derrick Rose. I think that he is comfortable here. He knows that he has support within the organization. And so money won't be the overriding factor for him as well. It depends. There is going to be a lot that depends on it, on who's the coach, who is the general manager, who is selling me on whatever vision that we have going forward. But I think both have, to Tibbs' credit, both have proven that they belong in this league, that they can be very positive contributors to this team. And so just the fact that we are talking about wanting to keep them going forward is a good thing. And I think it's a realistic scenario that both of them could stay.
A couple more Twitter questions. We don't get to all of them. I usually pick the ones that we haven't answered before, but I do appreciate all of them, and we'll try to get everybody represented who regularly sends in questions, because we do appreciate it. From Juan Stockton, I know we know what he's going to ask about. With Tibbs gone and Saunders potentially in, is it plausible we'd see a Rubio reunion?
I'm not. Never say never. I will say that. Never say never.
You can stay at your place.
We do have a couch for him, but I think it's probably less likely because they have Jeff Teague. If they bring Tyus Jones back, if they bring Rose back, there's not much room for Ricky. It's going to be an interesting market for Ricky Rubio this summer. He's been just okay this year. And so he's not going to likely command a big deal. I wonder if he will command a starting spot somewhere. I'm not sure. And so I will never rule it out. If Ryan is the head coach here, that something could happen with that. But I still think that given all of their point guards and what their priorities will be, I don't think it's going to be a likely scenario that happens.
Two more Twitter questions. Thanks again for all of those. Thank you to sodastick.com. Remember, the promo code is YouBetcha, and they also have the new members-only section now. And thank you to TSR Injury Law, 612 TSR Time from Steve-O. I hate ripping on Wiggins, but his contract's killing this team. If they want to compete in the West, my question is, when is the soonest the Wolves could move on from his contract and not be financially screwed?
Well, I mean, by trading him, probably if they try to trade him this summer, there's a chance that they have to take a bad contract back to do it, or they have to attach a first-round pick or multiple picks to entice another team to take on his deal. And so financially screwed, well, that's a relative term, because it's not like the NFL where you could cut somebody and then have dead cap money that goes forward that lingers on your books. When he's gone, he's gone. They have no stretch provision that they could use on him, nor would they. And they have no other means to let him go other than to trade him, and then you take some contracts back and some other assets probably, and see what you can get on that. But it will probably be easier to trade him the further you get into his contract, where the financial commitment from another team is not as great. I mean, he's still got 4 more years left on that deal, and that's a lot for any team to swallow.
Last question, Brian Francois. If Leonard bolts from Toronto this summer and they're willing to reset with a younger core, is there any chance you could trade Wiggins for Lowry? Who would say no? I think the Raptors would say no.
Well,
right?
maybe, but probably. I guess if if Leonard bolts and they decide that they can't stay in championship contention